Hello, I'm Ross Tayler, your host and guide for Sacred Sundays, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to what's sacred within and around you. I'm also a life coach for empaths and sensitive souls, walking alongside those who are ready to come home to who they actually are. These conversations are part of fulfilling that purpose, a collective exploration of what it means to live in connection with the sacred. Some weeks you'll hear a sound-based offering to open the space. Other times we'll simply begin in conversation. However it unfolds, this is an invitation into presence, connection, and the beauty of the unseen. If these conversations find you, please subscribe, rate, and share so others can find their way here. Pour a cup of tea, settle in, and let's begin. Today on Sacred Sundays, our guest is Ryan Baker. Ryan is the founder of West Coast Alchemist, where conscious craftsmanship and modern energy technologies come together in service of awakening. Following a profound spiritual transformation, Ryan devoted his life to exploring consciousness, frequency, and humanity's evolving relationship with the living intelligence of the earth and the unseen aspects of reality. Through handcrafted organite, tensor technology, electroculture, frequency art, and guided meditations, he creates tools and experiences intended to support greater coherence, presence, and inner remembrance. His passion is to inspire others to reconnect with their own innate wisdom, embody a higher state of consciousness, and explore the limitless creative potential that emerges when we live in alignment with our true nature. Welcome, Ryan, to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you, Ross.
It's so good to have you here. And we met, I think, a couple months ago now. Time is going so quickly, it's hard to keep track, but we met at the Parksville Metaphysical Network.
Correct. Yes. Yes, we did.
And you had a table there, and you made a point of connecting with me, actually, because we were Facebook friends for a while. And as we were talking, I was like, hey, Ryan, I think I should have you on the podcast. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ryan, you have lots of interesting things that you are giving your attention and your energy to. And one of the things that you mentioned in your bio was your own spiritual transformation. I'd love to start there. And I know that part of this is like you've had this old life and you're stepping into this new way of being in the world. And perhaps you can start by sharing about that journey and what that looked like for you and how that showed up for you. And would love to hear that for our listeners who may be having similar experiences.
Absolutely. Yes, I'd be honored to, because it's quite something. Yeah, it'll be relatable to many, but in my eyes now, especially looking back, I couldn't have come from a more different place than I am now. It's a very beautiful example of a very powerful and accelerated awakening. So I used to be I still am a Red Seal ticketed structural steel worker. So full-blown tradesman. I spent 20 plus years in industrial construction in Alberta and northern Alberta, living a very, very different life. I spent most of my time in what we just called it camp. I'm sure many people have heard that reference. They were kind of glorified little low security prisons in a lot of ways, but they did the job. And yeah, I started to have, I want to say from 2015-ish on, I started to have very subtle experiences, mostly in dreams, and even going back prior to that, I always had, going back to childhood, really, I had a lot of little pings and little nudges that were trying to tell me that there was something else going on. There was so much more to everything that you're experiencing. You, as in myself, were so much more. I never really fit in anywhere, especially in school. That's a pretty classic tale. And yeah, we do what we all do. And you just kind of, at that time, you just follow the program and you knuckle down and you carry on. So yeah, that led me down the path to where I ended up in this point in the story, in construction and living that life. And then, yeah, I started having some experiences, some dreams that were very different from your average dreams. I had some experiences in my camp rooms where I would be awoken at 2-3 o'clock in the morning with just sensations I can't put into words that I've never experienced in any other way, feeling presences with me. And then, of course, you come to and there's nothing really there that you can make sense of. And then dreams of being, floating above the whole entire camp complex, and in a beam of light, and seeing it all showered with light and love, and pretty wild stuff. So, I took that with me, but in that environment and in that life, I was, you can imagine, as a man in industrial construction up there, I'm surrounded with a lot of, I'm just going to say it, unconsciousness and high ego mind identities. And I was at a point where I hadn't really started to awaken in any way yet. So I just continued to do what we do. And you're stuck in that, call it a people pleasing state. And you maintain that facade of yourself that's not yourself at all. And, I was proud. I did a good job. But the urges started getting stronger and stronger that this wasn't me. This wasn't my true nature or my true self. So now this brings us up to about 2020, when, as we know, the world really shifted. And I had made a big transition again I was working from Alberta to now I was out in Saskatchewan doing steel underground, a mile underground in a potash mine. So that was mind blowing. That was quite the experience, I must say. Working 12-hour shifts underground, 24 days straight, pretty much. It was ridiculous. And it's interesting because literally months before 2020 and everything really kind of started affecting jobs and industries and stuff like that, I really started having these nudges and pings again of just wanting to be artistic and that there was more. And I'd also had a few more very vivid dreams and experiences I won't go into in detail right now, but just more and more was coming up within myself that was telling me that there's just something more, that this isn't me, this isn't me, this isn't me. So anyway, it got to the point, the job got shut down due to everything that was happening, and I was sent home, and we were there with no reassurance of a return time. And I had time to kind of sit with that and look at, what life was like just being back at home again and not being away all the time. And yeah, I had a lot of time to kind of reflect and feel more into myself and feel these stronger nudges again to be creative and find myself. So the call came to ask if I wanted to return. At the time, I wasn't sure where it came from, but now I know that it was my higher self guiding me. Even though everything was riding on my shoulders financially and everything to go back, I said no. The clearest, most beautiful decision I've had in a long time. It was just, no, I'm not going back. I had a decent tax return coming back that I knew could help kind of cushion my transition, and I chose that. So I made a massive shift out of that entire life and world, chose to stay in my hometown and start something completely new in a realm that interested me, which was kind of like custom painting and airbrush stuff and cars. I always loved cars. So yeah, I just whipped up some resumes. I took them out. I ended up getting a job at a restoration shop. So there was a huge flip there. I really enjoyed that for quite a while. I ended up going from body into paint, which I didn't expect, because I was more of a hands-on tools kind of guy as an ironworker and a tradesman. But it's just synchronicity, the way that all played out. Next thing I know, I'm painting cars, having a blast. It was amazing. I was feeling great. I was being artistic. I was being able to do it on cars. Did that for a while, and this journey continued. I had more experiences. It's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride, that to the point where it got so powerful between the experiences and the shifts that were happening within myself and the knowledge that I was starting to find myself hungry to read on. Like one of the first books that I read was Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Great book. Started there and just kind of really went down the rabbit hole. And it was just all that information just resonated so powerfully within me. It was my higher self, my true being just realized that this is it. This is exactly it. This is the true nature of things. And I mean, there was many other books that I went on from there and just ate it all up. And I was just so excited. But then I realized that things were shifting on the outside world, where the people that I was working with, again, it was much better than what I was doing in the past, but they were still very, very different from me. And I wasn't, fitting in, and I wasn't able to be fully my authentic self still. Even though I was being artistic, there was still just a level of unconsciousness and ego and an inability to look at things in a loving, spiritual way. And I just couldn't do that much more. So this brings me up to the most recent timeline where, yeah, I had an amazing job painting cars in an amazing place, but I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't be in that environment. The other thing was I was becoming sensitive to the chemicals I was around. The waste that that industry produces is just awful, the amount of plastics and everything. And I just couldn't. I couldn't be around the people. I spread so much love and light in that environment in every moment, but I just couldn't do it. And I said, you know what? That's it. I need to just be me fully. And I want to be me and be able to give back to this beautiful community and this world in these incredible times. And that was it. I threw all fear out the window and I just did it. I just did it, Ross. And now here I am. Yeah, I'm transitioning into starting my own business and very excited to give back and get out into the community. And it's very exciting. And I've never felt better and more full of light.
What a great story. And I guess I really felt the thresholds that you had to cross in that story. It makes me think about the hero's journey. You know, the hero's journey, we have to listen to the call, which is the tap on the shoulder. And I think throughout this timeline that you shared, there's a few of those moments of having to answer the call. And when I think about the environments you found yourself in and having the experiences you were, and having those be so opposite to what was going on. I mean, I actually worked on the other side in treatment centers, and we had a lot of clients come that were from those camps that you were in,
Mm.
and helping them with the addiction that came from being in those camps. So all of that, and to really continue to listen to that calling within and to answer those calls along the way, and at the same time not know where you're headed. And yet I can also feel this quality of, you learned what you needed to learn at each of those phases as well. And I'm imagining that you're now understanding what those things were about. And I think I'm speaking to kind of my own experience too, of like, at one point I worked at a call center and I was like, why am I working at this call center? It seems like a ridiculous place for me to be. And yet I got some real tangible skills from that I don't think I could have gotten anywhere else. So I'm curious about how that experience informed what's coming up for you now and how you're showing up, and how those things helped you along the way as you are now stepping into this other layer of your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously with the tradesman aspect, one of the things that I'm very excited to offer is being able to utilize some of my skills to assist in creating like sacred spaces for people. And nothing crazy, but I mean I can absolutely cross over my skills for some building, a small amount of construction. I am a steel worker, not a carpenter, but there's a lot of correlation, obviously, with certain tools and measurements, et cetera, and just knowledge of construction in general. So there's a level of that I'm excited to and grateful that I have that knowledge that will definitely be able to be utilized in my new endeavors. Uh,
So is that in terms of like creating sacred space? Or
to break it down a little bit, a quick little vision is imagine someone they have their backyard and they don't really know what to do back there, but they'd really like somewhere like nice and peaceful and quaint to sit and spend time. So what I'd like to offer in a situation like that is not only be able to potentially do a bit of, maybe put some paving stones down and help build like a little sheltered area with a couple of fence panels and posts and whatnot, but then take it to the next level. And like I would like to incorporate what are called sacred cubit lengths. Like this will tie into a lot of other things as well, but it's ancient Egyptian measurements that are sacred and powerful in their own right. And measure things and maybe pathways out using those measurements, and then put pure heartfelt intentions into the space as well, instead of just putting something together and that's it. Instead, put energies and love into it, and then I can incorporate artwork into it as well, and maybe offer a piece of organite that can stay in there as well to energize and transmute the space. Have a really powerful sacred space for someone to spend time
Mhm.
inside or outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a great segue into getting into the understanding and depth of like, how did you find this information? Did you download it? Because you mentioned having visions throughout the years and experiences. So how did you deepen that knowledge to the point where you're sharing it in this way?
Oh my, that's a deep one. The experiences and dreams and visions that I had, those didn't really correlate to this, to my knowledge, unless it was, a divine download of some nature, and that I was just meant to think of this later, which absolutely could be the case. They were more dreams and visitations by whether they were my spirit team or my guides or whatever extraterrestrial intelligences. I've seen ships. It's been very, very amazing and mind opening and heart opening, but nothing directly showing me this path that I know, unless it was just an inner guidance or a download of a sense. This all just came to me pretty naturally in the sense of I was very guided to it myself. Ties into a lot of the material I started reading and then hearing the stories of like Wilhelm Reich and the history of organite and so much stuff that's been around for so long, like lost technologies and information that are absolutely valuable and relevant and to this day and always were, but they were stifled and kiboshed and everyone was led to believe that they were just nonsense, but it's really functional stuff. And that fascinates me. It just fascinates me. I'm just naturally drawn to it is the only thing I could really say. And I just want to do it. And I just literally started a week ago making this stuff. And this is obviously it plays off my artistic talents. I can thank those and just my passion to do it. But I'm already making like really nice looking stuff. And it's incredible. I'm so grateful. I don't mean to sound like I'm blowing my own horn in any way here, but it's unbelievable. Like I'm able to start right out of the gate and start making quality stuff that looks beautiful. It's functional. It's powerful. Yeah, it's really exciting. And that's obviously where the drive and the energy comes from. It's just a natural, true, authentic nature.
Okay. So let's dive into the mechanics of one of the things you mentioned. So you mentioned organite. I remember maybe 10 years ago, someone mentioning organite to me. I had no idea. It wasn't on my radar at that point. Now it's everywhere. I see it all the time. So to someone who's never heard of organite, what is it you would say to them about organite and why it's powerful and what it is?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for the opportunity to get this knowledge out there, because one of the first things I realized immediately upon learning about it, studying it, and figuring out how to make it accurately is simply the amount of improperly made organite that is out there, or simply just the lack of knowledge perhaps of how to make it authentically, because a lot of people just want to make it and make it look really nice. It is possible to make it look nice. I'm working on that myself and it's absolutely doable, but the proper ratios and materials must be used. So yeah, let's dive in just a little bit, like a brief bit of history. Uh, a amazing Austrian researcher. I think he was actually a psychoanalyst, if I'm not mistaken. And he actually studied under Sigmund Freud. So, I mean, Sigmund Freud never mentored anybody who was less than brilliant. So anyway, William Reich, right around the time he discovered this technology, it was late 30s, early 40s. And he developed an orgone generator, which was basically, it wasn't really a generator. That's just what he termed it. And it was a box. And the box was made up of intermittent layers of organic and non-organic matter. And then there was a chair inside and his patients would sit inside it. And basically he discovered that this orgone energy is what we also know as chi or prana. It's life force energy. It's the real deal, but because it's invisible to our naked eyes and most modern scientific instruments that we know of, it just gets blown off as phooey. But he was onto something and he was seeing results. His patients were seeing results, almost like all of them. And unfortunately, classic tale as long as time itself, was discovered what he was doing, the benefits that were happening, and he ended up getting arrested on a bogus charge that was enough to get him out of his lab, and they were able to put him in prison. And then they went even as far as, while he was in prison, going back to his laboratories and grabbing all his notes, all his books, all his data, everything. And they actually took it by court order to be incinerated and burned. They burned his books and destroyed all his lab equipment, his entire lab, and everything. It was very sad. So it tapered off there. And then another gentleman, Carl Wells, in the 90s, he picked up where it was left off, and he discovered that there was a better component that could be used, which is resin as the organic matter, and took it to the next level with that. So the idea, without me going on for too long here, forgive me, it's just exciting. What happens is you have three main components to make organite functional. And by functional, what I mean is this device, this piece, whatever it is, they can be the size of a small pocket medallion to these big pyramids that you see. And that does, yes, increase their generating power and transmutation to a point. So what it does is the organic matter, which surprisingly is actually the resin, because it's made from petroleum products from the earth. That's why it's organic. That draws in all sorts of energies that are just around us, because everything is energy. So that draws in anything that's negative, anything that's good. Obviously doesn't matter, it's already good, clean energies, but mostly negative energies. The most prominent with that can be EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. It could be any number of things like cellular reception, Wi-Fi, all of that. So it gets drawn in. Then the crystals, which are very important, you have to have crystals in the organite. Quartz is one of the most popular. It's the most versatile, but you can also add all sorts of other crystals. The resin shrinks as it hardens, as it cures, and as it does, and this is the important thing, you have to use the proper resin. So polyester resin is one of the best because it has the strongest curing compression ratio, which what that then does is puts a high pressure onto the crystals, as everything else in the organite as well. But most importantly is when you compress quartz crystals or crystals of any kind, it creates a piezoelectric field effect. Now that piezoelectric field effect is critical, because now when I tell you about the third ingredient in organite, which is metals, they all three play together, and the metal pushes everything back out of the organite. So we have the resin pulls everything in, and then while it's in there, the crystals, under this piezoelectric field effect, they then have the ability to transmute that negative or chaotic energy into positive orgone energy, or prana, chi, life force energy. And then the metals that are in there have a repulsion effect. And that is what gets that back out and sends that back out of the organite. So you just have this constant in and out. It's almost like it's breathing in a sense. It's pulling in any negative energies. They get transmuted within the device, and then they get pushed back out in pure life force energy. It sounds pretty wild, but it's beautiful and it's functional. And if you have anyone who's energetically sensitive, who actually comes in contact with a functional, powerful piece of organite, they will be able to feel it immediately. You can people who are dowsers, or the use of a pendulum, and if it's useless organite, it'll just do nothing. I mean, you're still going to get a natural reading from your own energy a bit from a pendulum. But generally, when you put a pendulum over organite, it will start to spiral in the toroidal vortex of energy that is coming off of the organite. So you can test it that way, absolutely. You can also use an actual EMF detector. You can put the EMF detector in front of your phone or your laptop. You can get a reading. It'll be high. You can bring a functional piece of organite in, and you can actually watch the levels drop, which is very cool. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's what it is.
And so then why is that important for us in our everyday lives?
Excellent question. Other than doing our own personal clearings and being aware of our thoughts and our moods and our own energy, these are amazing energy tools that we can just simply have with us to enhance those abilities and enhance our own protection of our biofields. So if you have a pocket one that you just keep with you, I mean, what's one thing that pretty much every single person has in their pocket or on them all the time? A cell phone. Yeah. So when we have that sitting right that close to our body or on us at all times, if you've got a piece of organite on you or with you, that is then transmuting any negative EMFs or radio frequencies that are coming off that phone and just keeping that away from you because it's not beneficial to us. We deal with it because we're used to it, but it absolutely does have its own effects on us. So
Mhm.
that's a good one. Let's say if you spend a lot of time on a computer in an office or just at home, you're on your laptop a lot. Having a nice piece sitting on your table beside you with your laptop or your computer immediately it'll eliminate a lot of that, and it's good for you as well and the environment. They're very powerful. Don Croft, he was the last one to have really kind of really kicked off the Oregon community. And he started building what are called tower busters. And they're not pretty, but they're very dense, powerful organite. Basically, they look like kind of pucks. He would distribute those all over his own neighborhood, his own city, and mainly around cell towers, radio towers, transmission towers, where you see the big power lines. He dropped them along power line runs. And yeah, they have the power to transmute and knock out all the negative crap that's coming off of all those towers around us. So he also started the gifting movement where people who get into making it, they just start, making the odd extra piece that they have on the side. They go and they just go place them in their neighborhoods. Nature absolutely loves it. And if you have pieces around, you'll notice maybe your cats or your dogs will be drawn to it. You can place it in your gardens. Your gardens absolutely love it. This is obviously another thing that I'd love to offer to people too. Trees, nature, everything absolutely loves it. All they do is just produce pure life force energy. They're amazing.
Love it. And there is so much that is affecting us on a daily level that we don't even realize. And so these technologies, I think, are emerging to help us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned in your bio helping people to reconnect with their innate wisdom. What would you like to say about that and how that shows up? And maybe how that showed up for you and for the people that you support?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're incredible beings. This is where we're really going to have some fun and go a bit deep here because this is one of the things that's just in the latest stages of my journey has just really, you have to embody it. We are all divine creator beings and we are incredibly powerful and amazing and beautiful. And we should never second guess ourselves in any way. We literally create our own reality billions of times per second without even knowing it. We're that good at manifestation. But because of social programming that we're brought up in and belief systems that then become instilled in us within that and limiting beliefs and fear-based beliefs, we have to work through those and do our shadow work and our inner work and face a lot of that stuff and really look at everything from a completely different lens than we've looked at it in our entire lives up until this point, and really just sit with yourself and realize how amazing you really are, and to start chipping away at all those lies that we've been fed our entire life and really start to step into our power and embrace it. And it doesn't have to happen right away. It doesn't have to happen overnight. That's the beauty of it. Time itself isn't even real. Linear time is not real. There's just now. So in every moment, you have the power to reinvent yourself in any way that you choose to or choose not to. It's all free will. It's all us. It's all you. It's incredible.
What are the methods that you use to connect people back to that inner truth?
For myself, the way I'd like to share, as we discussed, me and you before we started a little bit, was one of the pings and nudges that I was always kind of thrown my way, but never really knew what to do with it in my life was people always told me I have a great voice, but I was always not confident enough or scared. I didn't know how to do anything with that. I didn't choose to do anything with that. I noticed there was many times when I got into like supervision and stuff, when I spoke with my crews or I spoke in safety meetings, there was a power in it, and there was a comfort in being able to express in that way. So I think one of the things I really want to do with that now, getting back to your question, is to utilize it in a form of doing guided meditation and using beautiful works of music or silence or stillness or just being in nature and doing short to medium guided meditations to help people really just find that sacred space within themselves and find that stillness and start with that.
I'm curious, you mentioned that when you got onto your journey of transformation, that the first book you read was Eckhart Tolle. Who were your most potent teachers along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to share that because it's just they're so amazing. So Eckhart, he's got two great books. There's the first one which is called The Power of Now, and then his second one was called A New Earth. They're
Hmm.
both amazing books, and from what I've read and the teachers that I follow now, they're a really great kind of starting point, if you will. Like not to label it as a starting point in any way, but it's a good entry stage to have the whole understanding of reality and the power of the now moment. It's a great place to start to really wrap your head around that, as well as like inner work and shadow work and your thoughts and the belief systems. But other than himself, another amazing one that I ended up finding was Peter Maxwell Slattery. He is a very high extraterrestrial experiencer and went through a massive awakening and has incredible material to dive into. He's got multiple books, but I'd have to say probably one of the most powerful and the one that resonates with me the most in a lot of ways is the entity known as Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. And the only way I can describe it, and this is the way it works with everybody, is you hear the famous saying, take what resonates, leave the rest. There is barely a moment that I listen to any of his material that does not resonate. It just, everything I hear, it comes in, it's like, yes, that makes absolute sense to me. That, yes, 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 yes. Oh, that's one of the strongest for me.
You mentioned creativity, you mentioned life force, and that really gets me thinking about where we are as a collective and some of the things we're experiencing. And a lot of people are struggling with depression and anxiety. And I really believe that, of course, there's lots of things that happen to us in our life that create those outcomes. But at the same time, I feel like it is a pushing down of that life force that's trying to emerge. And when I think about your story and the things that you said yes to along the way, listening to your higher self and moving so succinctly towards what it was that you were being called towards, and having said yes to those things that are trying to emerge, that has allowed you to experience what you're experiencing. And yet, so many people are not able to say yes to those things, or at least believe they can't. And it's such an interesting chicken and egg conversation in terms of like, how do you help someone to overcome their present reality when it's so intense? Because I've struggled with depression and anxiety, and it's not easy. You can stay stuck there, but there's such a force that is making you feel the way you are. And I liken it to holding a basketball underwater, right? Like we're trying to push down this force that is trying to emerge so powerfully. What would you say about all of that?
Yeah, excellent topic. Yeah, so I mean, the way that I've understood from other teachers too is like just touching on depression. So the English language is funny. There's so many of our words. We have one known description of the word, but it actually can be something completely different. So it's been explained to me that depression is actually should be looked at more as like a compression. And by that I mean the way that one tends to like withdraw, and it's meant in a lot of ways for us just to really face something within ourselves or inside. Like you said, it's a great analogy with like trying to push that basketball underwater. It's not meant to be done that way. You're just you're fighting against a force that's just going to continue to push back until there's a breaking point. So it's a matter of really facing all those, whether they be fears or trauma or whatever it is within. It's getting in touch with that side of yourself within yourself, working with it and through it is in the best way that you possibly can. and embracing it as opposed to trying to fight it. That in itself that's a big one. Wrap their head around like, okay, it's not something to be fought. I have to absolutely invite this all in and embrace it and take it all on. But when we do that, when you get through that, you come out the other side a new being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to add a little bit to that, the beginning of your question is as far as like facing a choice or a fork in the road or anything of that nature, because there's only now to try and get ourselves into a state of just the best one that I love recently, honestly, for myself right now is just living like it's your last day or week on earth. Like, why not? Like, not to the extreme or anything. Like, don't go, skydiving off Everest or something, but to a reasonable level of enjoyment and freedom and empowerment. If we can put ourselves in that state where you can just like everything else, Bashar himself would say circumstances just don't matter. It's state of being that matters. So if your state of being within, if you can allow yourself to get to a place of peace and comfort and freedom and empowerment where nothing else can affect you because none of it's really real anyway. It's all within us. It's your state of, if you can get to that point and maintain that and go through life in that state, that's next level. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I have to confess, I think I had to read Power of Now at least 3 or 4 times before it really started to make sense. I know everybody was talking about it. It had been around for so long and it was the book to read, and there's so many layers to it, and it really does have a powerful message. And it's so simple and yet so complicated because of the way we live our lives. So it is a great starting place. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The name of the other amazing teacher just came back to me, Alan Watts, of course.
Okay. Yes. Alan Watts.
Oh my God. And what a voice. The man had an amazing voice too. But
Absolutely.
The wisdom that came out of that awakened individual is beyond words. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all the same stuff. That's the really cool part. Like when you,
it is.
Like I came so full circle. I started with the Power of Now. And I met like the Bashar side, which is like for most people to hear a lot of everything that he taught, it's beyond comprehension for some people. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But it's amazing when you start tying all these teachers all together, listening to all the material. They've got their own way of putting it into words, but you start to see through the fact that it's all the same concept. It's all the same nature of reality and the nature of the human mind and how we navigate this human experience that we're having.
Yeah, I would agree that I see that throughout all the teachers, there's a similar message being conveyed, and we all need to hear it from the teacher that will get through our layer of resonance or whatever you want to call that. Like we need to hear it from the person that can speak to us. So you had mentioned when we were about to get on this call that you are interested in doing community stewardship, and perhaps you could say a little bit about that, because I found that kind of an interesting project that you wanted to undertake.
Absolutely, yes. No, that one I think is a really fun one, and I feel it's just going to be enjoyable on all sides. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to start off by just keeping them very loose and fun and free. Toss them out as a event on Facebook. Do maybe a sponsored ad or something like that to kind of get it out in the community. Maybe put some bulletins up or something to that nature. See how it all goes. But what it's going to be is because people just love to do that and it feels so good. It's so therapeutic. So I'm going to pick a location and I'll give all the details, drop a Google Map pin, make it as easy as possible for anyone to engage. And I'll have a route laid out. I'll have everything planned. And we'll meet up at a certain place, whether it be at, say, Raft Trevor or Englishman River Falls or Qualicum Beach or wherever. There are so many amazing places that this could be done. And keep it within reason. Keep the distances healthy for all walks of life, whoever show up. And I'll suggest in the ad that you bring some water, stay hydrated, have good footwear, but I will supply, if needed, collection bags and latex gloves, but bring your own gear if you can. And what we're going to do is just meet up, have a quick little talk, set a basic intention with Gaia and the planet and the group that we're here to assist in cleaning up this beautiful world that we live in and do what we can to make it a better place. And we'll just go on a little walk and just pick up everything that we can find, garbage wise, or empties, or plastics, or anything that we come across that's not organic or not of nature, and get it out of there.
Mhm.
I'll take on, the trash myself. I'll keep it open to people who are willing to assist, maybe make it donation based or something to keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum there, keep the interest there. And yeah, just do those every now and again, or however often I'm guided to. And I think it's a great way to network with people. Mental health wise is another aspect I thought of. Like if it's something easy for the community to engage in, to just get out and to just go on a little walk and, pick up some garbage and make the world a better, cleaner place. And how amazing is that? I guarantee every person would leave at the end of that feeling
Mhm.
pretty buzzed up. It would be pretty great.
That's a
And
great
then
offering.
yeah, and then in some of them, I was thinking even adding at the end of it, once we all kind of finish up and gather up, just do a quick guided meditation. Yeah, whatever resonates, right? And play around with the idea a bit and see how it all goes.
Well, that's really cool. And so as we come towards a close, what are the things that you offer that people might be interested in? Also, where can they find you?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. West Coast Alchemists is the business. And I'm also going to collaborate with my partner in this as well. So we can add in some other things. I'll touch on that in a sec. But yeah, basically, it's going to be offering a couple things we didn't even get into today, but it's assisting in creating sacred spaces within or outside the home for people, even as simple as just tidying up. Like if they've got a fence panel in their yard or in their garden that maybe they want to add a little small mural or something to it. Like I'm not Van Gogh, but I could absolutely add some color and some intention and some high vibes into someone's spaces, or building, like we talked about earlier, a little sitting area, all sorts of little ideas in that aspect. The main focus is obviously creating powerful, functional, legitimate organite, as well tensor rings that I didn't get into talking about, but tensor rings themselves are very powerful energy tools. And the cool thing with those is I can actually make those and also put them into the organite to make the organite even more powerful as well. So very cool. If anybody wants to look that up, check out Slim Sperling and tensor ring technology. Very neat stuff. Yeah, the community stewardship stuff. I'd like to be getting out in markets. I also do intention filled and frequency artwork. It's a alcohol ink based medium, very colorful, very flowing. And I offer them whether they're just one off pieces or commissions for people. Again, that's another really powerful one that I collaborate with Mystic Mountain Healing on, because she's able to channel energies, healing energies into the pieces as well on a commission piece. And then that can go to someone's home, hang on their wall, and just give off just so much amazing energies for themselves and their healing journeys and just their life in general.
All right. So I'll make sure to share all the links to everything in the show notes. And I always like to close with the same question. So the question I'll ask you is, what's one simple way that someone could connect with the sacred today?
Just talk, just take a moment. Creation itself is listening in every moment. There's so much. You have so much available to you. It's beyond words. It really is. Not only do you have your entire spirit team with you, there are, believe it or not, there are amazing intelligences of all sorts of different natures. And angels, the universe, source, God, creator itself is with us in every moment. Yeah, you can speak out loud. And the spoken word, I might add, is very powerful. There's no coincidence that it's called spelling. I don't know if you've ever heard reference to that, but the spoken word is literally casting spells in many ways. Yeah. So tell yourself you love yourself. Tell the universe that you love it. And it's as simple as that. You can speak to them anytime. They're there every moment, silently in your head or out loud.
I appreciate that. Ryan, it's been great to have this conversation with you. I hope that the listeners really appreciate all the things that you've spoken of and shared. And I appreciate the technologies that you're working with and the way that you show up in the world and how you've said yes to this journey in what seems like very powerful ways. So thank you for taking the time for this conversation. And I'm grateful that our listeners will get to benefit from hearing this conversation.
Thank you as well, Ross. Absolute pleasure and many blessings. This has been an honor.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us on Sacred Sundays. I hope something in today's offering spoke to your spirit, stirred something true, or simply gave you a moment to breathe. If this conversation resonated, please subscribe, rate, or share. It truly helps this work reach the people who are meant to find it. If you'd like to step inside my world a little further, I host a free live practice 3 mornings a week called Start With You. Just 20 minutes on Zoom to return to your own energy. Everything you need can be found at the link in the show notes. Until next time, may your day be slow and sacred.